Hey guys, it's Matt, and today we'll be talking about 7 things to do in your 20s to set yourself up for financial success. And the best part, I have no course to sell you, so all the information today is absolutely free. Actually, I lied. It will cost you 1 subscription to me down below by clicking that big red button. It really helps out the channel, so I appreciate it a lot. Now, let's get into it. Your 20s are some of the prime years of your life, and you don't want them to go to waste. At this age, you have the tools to set yourself up for financial success. Whether you're in your 20s right now, maybe about to turn 20, or maybe just moved into your 30s, this information is all still relevant to you. Also, I think tip number 7 might surprise a lot of you, so make sure you stick around to the end to find out what it is. The first thing you need to do is sell a dropshipping course for $4.99 and then go buy Dogecoin. Just kidding, please do not do that. The first thing you need to do is understand credit. Now, I could be like some of those finance influencers that tell you to go get a credit card right now, or I could be like the others that tell you to find a pair of scissors and chop them up right now. But instead, I'll avoid both and just stick it to you plain and simple. There is no one size fits all when it comes to credit. That's why it's important to educate yourself, learn the pros, and learn the cons of credit and credit cards. Credit cards can be extremely useful tools when it comes to racking up rewards and also building up your credit score, which is useful for mortgages and loans from the bank down the line. If you don't pay off credit cards, they can be deadly and really impact your financial state. That's why it's important to just educate yourself on the basics of credit and how it works, and then decide if it's best for you or not. Alright, now let's move on to tip number 2, which is probably the most important step when it comes to preparing yourself for financial success. And, you guessed it, it's creating a budget. If you don't already have one, then you are seriously missing out. Budgets are incredibly useful tools that allow you to track your spending, locate areas of overspending, and eventually cut back on them to save more. You can easily track your spending on one of the thousands of free apps or websites that allow you to track all of your expenditures. By just tracking your spending for 30 to 60 days, you'll be able to create an accurate budget and then adjust that to make sure you achieve your financial goals. This leads me directly into tip number 3, which is subscribing if you haven't already, because it really helps out the channel. Just kidding. Tip number 3 is opening the correct accounts. If you're in the United States, you want to go and open up a Roth IRA, and if you're in Canada, you want a TFSA and an RRSP. All of these accounts give you a variety of different tax benefits and are incredibly useful when it comes to saving and investing. There is absolutely no downside to opening these accounts right now, and you'll be much more inclined to start saving and investing in them if they're already open. Now, that's not a statistical fact or anything, but I know you and you know you, so be honest with yourself. It's just one less excuse as to why you haven't started saving or investing yet. Now, depending on where you live, you're going to want to do a quick Google search just to see which brokerage near you has the lowest fees for their accounts. If that's too much work for you, then you can go stick with your normal bank, but don't be all sad and upset when they charge you extremely high transaction fees for all the trades you want to do. Just take the extra time and look into brokerages like Robinhood, Questrade, and Wealthsimple, who have much lower fees than all the other banks. This connects nicely to tip number 4, which is saving and investing. At this age, you want to save at least 10 to 15% of your income. And if you're using your budget properly, you can even set aside a portion of that income in your budget to go straight to your saving or investing accounts. So as soon as you get paid, you're moving that money out of your checking account into something like a Roth IRA or TFSA or even a high interest savings account. And just to show you how powerful of a tool this is, if you maxed out your TFSA or Roth IRA at $6,500 a year from the age of 20 to 65, you'd be left with almost $3 million by the time you're 65. And did I mention it's all tax-free? There is absolutely no excuse not to do this, because with things like auto payments, you can set it up so on payday, your money is automatically transferred out without you ever seeing it. It's like it was never even there. Setting aside a portion of your income for saving and investing goes a long way, especially the earlier you start. You'll start to see results fast, and these savings can go towards your financial goals like buying a new car, going on a new vacation, or buying a new house. But wait, we're getting ahead of ourselves. Before you start saving for those goals, you need to make sure you've done tip number 5 first. Tip number 5 is having a starter emergency fund, and this should be the first financial goal you have after you make your budget and start saving. Before you start investing or doing whatever else you want to do with your money, you need to make sure you have a starter emergency fund. So how much should be in the fund? Well, the general rule of thumb is that you need at least $1,000 as a starter emergency fund. However, it really depends on your personal situation. It'll depend on things like rent and job security for you to decide how much is right for you. As a rule of thumb, you'll eventually want to grow your emergency fund to cover about 3 to 6 months worth of expenses, which, you guessed it, you can get from your budget. I personally started with just $1,000 and then started to invest while also growing out that emergency fund at the same time. Now, let's move on to tip number 6, which is cutting back spending. Your 20s is a time where you can afford to live more frugal. You're supposed to be broke, so you're allowed to live like it, and no one will really care. Nobody is expecting you to live in a penthouse, drive a Mercedes, or wear Louis Vuitton clothing. A lot of people fall victim to something called lifestyle inflation, which is paying for a lifestyle that you can't afford. Things like eating out less, not ordering alcohol at dinner, moving back in with your parents, or maybe driving an older car are all ways that you can cut back on your spending. Now, I'm not saying that you should eat rice and beans for every meal, scooter to work, and look for spare change in the cracks of the sidewalk, but there are plenty of ways that you can cut back on your spending that don't impact your lifestyle or happiness. Now, you've made it to tip number 7, and this one will probably surprise you, but I think it's personally the most important one. But first, go click that big red subscribe button if you haven't already. And now, let's get into it. Number 7 is don't sacrifice happiness just to save a few bucks. While I personally tend to live quite frugally, I'd be lying if I said I didn't splurge on myself every once in a while with a new pair of shoes, some concert tickets, or a vacation. And that's completely okay. Now, I know this might sound hypocritical to what I said previously, but bear with me. You're in some of the best years of your life, and you'd be foolish not to enjoy it even just a little bit. Don't miss on a night out with your friends because you're worried about going $6 over your eating out budget. The great thing about personal finance is that the more you get it under control, the more fun you can have, and the more you save, the more goals you can have, like saving up to a trip to Ibiza with your friends. If you follow these 7 tips, there's no doubt in my mind that you will be financially successful and happy in life. Anyways, that's about all I have for you guys today. And remember, make sure to have fun, enjoy your 20s, and be responsible. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe as it really helps out the channel and you can keep up with all the future content. And with that, I will see you guys next time.